Oh my gosh, after a few months I finally made it out of that well. Because it's time to finally start uploading on the Nostalgia Factor again. But what do I review next? The last video I did, I think I finished up my Kingdom Hearts marathon, so what to do next? Now how about Pokemon Ranger Shadows of Almia? I mean, that's the second game in the Pokemon Ranger franchise, and I've already reviewed the first game, and there's not many reviews about it, in a series that I think deserves more, attention. So I feel like that's a good place to start. Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's Ryan here. Man, it's been some time since I've done a video on this channel. First of all, guys, I apologize for the wait. There's no excuse I could possibly come up with other than life has come up and I'm finishing up college and all the usual things that you might hear from a YouTuber who hasn't uploaded on a channel in a while. Nonetheless, though, guys, I figured I'd do a video today and do another game review on a series that deserves way more attention than what it currently has here on YouTube, which is little to none in terms of reviews or gameplay. So I figured for today, since I've reviewed the first game in the series in the past, I would tackle the second game of the franchise, Pokemon Ranger Shadows of Almia, on the Nintendo DS. I still can't get this stupid stylus to work. Maybe I'm not doing the circle part. Oh. Pokemon Ranger Shadows of Almia was released back in 2008 and was the second game in the franchise, second of 3 Pokemon Ranger games. Pokemon Ranger Shadows of Almia took what the original game set with story, and that's saying a lot for a Pokemon game, and the core gameplay of drawing loops around Pokemon in order to capture them, perform target clears, use them as different assists and whatnot in battle, and of course have a different experience from the mainline games. Now, while this game isn't my personal favorite out of the 3 games in the series, Pokemon Ranger Shadows of Almia definitely takes a lot of steps in advancement in the series, but in my opinion, not everything is executed as well as what you might think. But overall, I'd say it's worth a look. But let's get into it. First and foremost, in the Pokemon series, the story is not a huge deal of any Pokemon game. Now, the Pokemon Ranger series is an exception to this, with actual in-depth stories in comparison to other games in the mainline trainer series. Pokemon Ranger Shadows of Almia is no exception. You're a kid who goes to a ranger school, you end up learning how to capture Pokemon and befriend them, and you end up going against an evil organization known as Team Dim Sun, along with allies from various different ranger bases throughout the region of Almia, and you end up having to go on this big journey in order to stop an evil businessman from using a gigantic shadow crystal in order to take over the world and mind control all the Pokemon to control the world in his own image. Now, this story isn't anything in-depth or complex. There's a lot of really fun missions, a lot of good character interactions, a lot of humor and charm that comes with a Pokemon game and with the different characters, something that this game definitely does well. And this is saying something in comparison to other Pokemon games, especially because, like I said, story is not the biggest impact when it comes to it. It's mostly gameplay-centric. However, Shadows of Almia, in my opinion, while it does the story well, a lot of the mission structures and whatnot, even going through the main missions without spoiling anything, because this is a series that I think a lot of you out there, if you haven't played or heard of, you need to check out. A lot of the story bits do drag on quite a bit, and I'm very sad to say that, especially in comparison to the original game, which had a lot of simple, story-driven missions with that same charm and personality to it, but it kept it simple enough to the point where you could follow what was going on, have a straightforward mission, and still enjoy the game for what it is, even with the simpler gameplay in that game. This game here, for example, case in point, you're heading off to a desert location to find a gem to power a machine that can counteract the Shadow Crystal later on in the game. However, in intramission, before you even get to the oil base, which is one of the headquarters of Team Dim Sun, you have to go and rescue a whale lord in the ocean, which was a cool little segment, different changing gameplay and whatnot for what that story is. But it was just out of the way and ruins the pace of the game. And that's something Shadows of Almia I don't think really does well in terms of story. It has really good missions and great personality, but story structure, it gets really screwy halfway through the game. And there's a lot of filler stuff in there that really kills the pace. So, good story, definitely a step up from the Pokemon games, but not the most solid out of all 3 of the Pokemon games in the series. Even the first game, for as simple as it is, I think did the story structure better. okay, seriously, how do you get these stupid things to work? There has to be like an on-off switch. Am I drawing an oval instead of a circle? Maybe a square? How? I'm swear, I'm gonna break this. Oh, right. So aside from the story in this game, another unique thing Pokemon Ranger as a series, as well as the 3 games that are in that series, does very well, is with the unique gameplay that it brings to the table. Now, I've talked about this in the original Pokemon Ranger review that I did several months back, but the gameplay here is solidly the same. You have a stylus that you use, you draw loops around a Pokemon to convey feelings of friendship. In this case, instead of a number going down from the original game, you have to fill up a meter. You capture the Pokemon, and then you can use them depending on the number that they have and the element that the Pokemon controls for their type. You can clear obstacles and solve puzzles and whatnot, going through the different missions and whatnot. Standard stuff as far as that goes, as well as using the Pokemon in battle to either help increase your gauge, help stun Pokemon for a certain amount of time, give them certain status effects and whatnot to make them easier to capture. And the cool thing is about this gameplay feature with a bar going up instead of a circle, you don't have to capture the Pokemon in one straight run with having a bunch of circles go around them. You can take different pauses and whatnot as you fill up the meter. However, I must stress though, even while you're going through that process, keep in mind though that if you wait too long, the bar does go back down. But it's more reliable, admittedly, than the first game when it comes to the method in which your progress is tracked with capturing the Pokemon. And that's a big thing with this game too. It doesn't really add a lot in terms of like gameplay advancements and features. There's not really much I can say about it other than the advancements that they made to the formula were better. As you upgrade your styler later on in the game, you can go through different side quests and whatnot, and you have bigger lines. You can adapt to better elements to deal less damage to your styler. You can add these little upgrades to it, which is a cool twist. But the best part about the gameplay and the newest thing that'll aid you the most is like a upgrade feature, if you want to call it that. You have your initial line that you draw, then if you hold down the styler on the screen for a certain amount of time, it has a double charge to it that allows you to have more the gauge fill up more. And then if you press it down for a third time, you gain a third supercharge that, again, increases the amount of time and whatnot that it takes to fill up the gauge. So it's less time for you to do a capture. Keep in mind, though, that if the Pokemon touches the line or the styler, it damages you. That's your health, so to speak. You have to recharge your styler either for the use of Pokemon or through recharge stations you find throughout the game. And it's like your health in a Pokemon battle. If your style energy runs out, you lose. So just keep that in mind, and there's different Pokemon assists that help with that, and that's the thing this game, like I said, doesn't really change too much. Like I said, there's a few unique gameplay features when it comes to capturing Pokemon at its core, and all in all, it does it really well. I do enjoy the combat here. Combat, so to speak, in terms of that it's capturing. There's not really many bits to talk about other than new additions that it added to the Pokemon Ranger formula. The gameplay, aside from story and different like little extra bits added to it, gameplay here is largely the same, as I've described earlier. So I must stress here, though, with some of the added content that this game adds and a lot of the new features that it adds, I do like some of it. However, some of it I think was kind of lost in translation, so to speak. One of the main things that you can do in this game is side quests. Side quests are things that you have the little mini story arcs with main characters in the main game or post game, where you can go and do certain things, and as a reward for gathering Pokemon, helping through a certain story scenario for like that little side quest, you gain different upgrades to your styler. Like I said, increased length, resistance to certain Pokemon types when capturing them. And these side quests are usually fetch missions, or you have to go to a certain area and whatnot, and they're like their own little mini story. Some quests are better than others, obviously, and that's one of the things that I really like about the quest system, is that it upgrades you and rewards you for it with actual gameplay functions, instead of it just being meaningless nothing. And the stories, some of them are really funny and they're cool to see with different interactions with characters. However, I have to stress another thing too with this. A lot of the different quests, if you're going for 100% for this game, in my opinion, not 100% worth it. A lot of these different fetch quests and whatnot force you to go around the map, and a lot of them are very cryptic about where to locate certain Pokemon, because there's other methods that you have to use to open up certain passageways in caves, waterfalls, cliffs, anywhere else that you encounter within this region that you're not going to know right off the bat. And in addition to having to capture those Pokemon for the quest, then you have to go and capture the other Pokemon to unlock a doorway to get the Pokemon for the quest. And a lot of them can be very tedious and honestly not worth it. So the quest system was a cool implementation for story reasons, and most of the quests are pretty good, but not everything's as smooth as what you might want it to be. And there's, of course, different gameplay features to it, like traveling underwater and whatnot, using special snorkel gear. There's several missions that you have to go through where you go underwater, and that brings me to another thing with this game, too. The controls and the visuals. First off, this game looks fantastic for a Nintendo DS game. I really do like how this game looks. It looks just about as good as it possibly could on the DS. Very fluid, very colorful. Pokemon animations look really good. Even drawing loops, as simple as that is in battle, looks very satisfying and very responsive, which brings me to the controls as well. The controls work fairly well. In the overworld and normally playing the game, it's fine, but the underwater segments, and this should be no surprise to anyone, classic gaming trope, the underwater controls are very slow. They can be stiff at times going around corners, especially going with different air currents and whatnot to catch up to a certain Pokemon in one particular mission, Mission 5, I believe. And it's just really hard to control overall. It's not very fun in terms of that. But I will say visual-wise and control-wise, for the most part, it's pretty good. And in terms of extra stuff like the side quests, like I said, there's not really much to talk about outside of that extra stuff. I mean, Pokemon Ranger Shadows of Almia on its own has some really unique things, but there's just a few things in there that they added that could have been tweaked. Come on. I'm getting it. Am I getting the technique now? Am I getting the technique? No, I'm not. No, because this is a pencil and not a styler. How did I not realize that? Okay. I hate this thing. But, all in all, ladies and gentlemen, with all that in mind, Pokemon Ranger Shadows of Almia, in closing, was a great step up for the Pokemon series, especially for the Pokemon Ranger series in general. It improved on a lot of things from the main game in terms of adding more substance to story, really good gameplay, maintaining the current Pokemon Ranger gameplay that we all know and love, with adding some really cool advancements like the upgrade system, and of course the charging system and whatnot as well for increased attack, if you want to call it that, in Pokemon captures. However, there's a lot of things that make this game not as good to me as the third game in this series, which improved on everything else plus some, and the original game, which kept it a lot more simple, with story beats being drug out, some missions being a drag, side quests and whatnot, a lot of them not being worth completing, especially for complicated fetch quests that are just going to waste your time, controls in certain areas of the game and certain missions not being fantastic to do, and while some ideas are put in and implemented very well for like the underwater segments and are unique to this game, I must stress they could have done a lot better in certain areas. There's some parts of this game that are disappointing and could have been fleshed out better. But all in all, the Pokemon Ranger Shadows of Almia, while not my favorite game out of the 3 games in the franchise, I really do enjoy it, and I do recommend you guys give it a look. It is a very underrated gem, and this entire series is underrated, not just with Pokemon, but with Nintendo DS titles in general. So I highly recommend you guys go and check this game out. Like I said, it's not perfect, and it is drug out in a lot of areas, but I still think you guys should play it. It is a good game, all in all. Again, not my personal favorite, but it's really good. I think you guys should check it out, as well as some of the other games in the franchise. So, all in all, good game. Check it out.
I know we can't do it, okay?
And with all that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for today's review. I hope you guys did enjoy. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think about the Pokemon Ranger series, as well as Shadows of Almia as a whole. And if you're curious enough to tell me, of course, let me know what your favorite game in the franchise is. I'm very curious to see what people's opinions on that are, because I've seen plenty of different ones in the past. But let me know your thoughts on the video and the game as a whole in the comments. Give this video a like if you did enjoy it. Subscribe to the channel if you guys want to catch more videos like this at some point in the future with more reviews and gaming-related videos. And that's all, guys. Thank you so much for sticking with the channel, despite my hiatuses and whatnot that I have had. And I hope you guys did find some enjoyment in this video as well. But until next time, guys, this has been Ryan from the Nostalgia Factor saying, keep on gaming.